The Pirates have one of the best stars and becoming one of the most recognizable faces in baseball. Will they actually build a team around him?
You are Locked On MLB Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans and Pirate fans, and welcome to a Locked On MLB, Locked On Pirates crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day, and we are now the #1 sports podcasting network. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever they call it these days on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram, and the best way to get a hold of us right here is on the YouTubes. And when you leave a comment down here, make sure to have that hashtag Everyday Sully, because it helps us figure out who is sending us questions. Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. While I'm not flying solo, you see it is a crossover episode, and coming onto the show, the host of your Locked On Pirates, it's Gary Morgan. How you doing? Back to the show, Gary.
I'm good, man. I'm really excited to be back with you, Sully. It's been a minute.
It has been a minute. I had you on, I believe, when they fired Shelton. And
I think you were trying to convince them to fire Shelton still when we.
Oh, that's at that time, yeah. And now Shelton's got another job. And somewhere Joe Madden is going, really? Shelton got another
They're
job?
They're going to keep their stars and try too.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that. But welcome back. It's already been an interesting offseason for the Pittsburgh Pirates. We're going to talk a little bit about the National League Central in general, as well as some of the moves the Pirates have already made, and a move that I truly, truly hope they don't make. But first and foremost, the Pirates got off to let's just be fair, a clunky start under Shelton. And while they are not going to have anyone singing "We Are Family" anytime soon, based upon the final, I don't know, was it the final 4 months of the season under Don Kelly, they finished 59 and 65 under him, which is again sub 500. But it wasn't like they were dreadful. They did lose 90 games, which is not good, especially for a team that was hoping to build upon and improve. And I would label this season as a disappointment, but there were some good parts to the season that are worth, building upon. Tell me your impressions of 2025 and moving into 2026.
Yeah, I mean you're pretty much exactly dead on. It was a very disappointing season. I think everybody expected to do better. That said, they didn't do anything, above kind of just hoping that people would get better last year. I mean, they brought in some veterans and whatnot. They're talking a better game this year, but just through osmosis, this team is poised to get a little better just on its own, just naturally. So even if they screw up and do what they always do, I still expect the team to improve a little bit. Connor Griffin really should make a big impact this year. I think a lot of us see that as a viable possibility. A few other young kids coming. The pitching staff looks really good to us, at least right now, before they've made any official trades out of it aside from Oviedo. We feel good about it right now. We feel like they need to bolt a couple pieces on, and they've got a real chance to run at the playoffs here.
I got on the Pirates last year when they traded away Brian Hayes. Not that I think that Brian Hayes is the second coming of Honus Wagner. I just was getting on them for trading away major league players when they should be surrounding their ace with major league players. But I got a lot of pushback even from Pirate fans saying that actually was a bit of a blessing that
I would add to that chorus, Sully.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be right there with we learned lessons that the Cincinnati Reds will learn over the next 3 or 4 years. He's a good player, probably the best defensive third baseman you'll see in your lifetime. You know, I'm sure you can say different Brooks Robinson and whatnot, but I
didn't see Brooks Robinson. I'm not that old. I didn't see Brooks Robinson play.
But I can't say
saw
that.
Robin Ventura play, who was probably the best
Very
defensive
good
third baseman I ever saw.
Terry Pendleton comes to mind for me.
Yeah,
but
he was excellent.
Brian Hayes.
Gary Gaetti. Gary Gaetti was another really good defensive third baseman.
Nolan Arenado. You know, right in that class, great. But the bat just will not come along. It just won't. He can't do with his body what you need to do with his body to get the kind of production that you need to get. He's a singles hitter. He's Luis Arraez with a bat glove. And he doesn't have nearly as good a bat. So like they'll learn their lesson. And they're doing exactly what we did, bragging about the defense, talking about how that supersedes the bat. And 3 or 4 years from now, they'll be just as frustrated as Pirates fans were. And the price tag, while reasonable, will still annoy you. And that's where I think they'll be. It's where I am. I'm glad they made the move. Jared Triolo is at least his contemporary. Glove is exactly the same. Bat is microscopically different, and at least he's got a chance to get better.
Well, a player who also played with the Pirates for most of the season last year, who they put on waivers, was Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who had one of the great highlights of the year that he'll probably want to forget about not getting a big enough lead down at third base and not scoring on that grounder that was not exactly cleanly fielded. But that's the thing about the Pirates. If you want to talk about them and bring up some postseason memories, you have to talk about the ones who got traded away or waived away, because, you know, it's been a save for 13, 14, 15. You've not been able to have any Pirate memories in the postseason. But, I mean, I'm looking at this team, and this is, I guess, why it was interesting. I said my thing about Hayes because I was hard by the fact that I think he's a major leaguer, at least defensively. And I figured, and I was like, you know, basically you need as many major leagues as you can get. But most of the people who responded back said exactly what you said, Gary, which was, yeah, we're not going to win with him. Even if he's making all the plays at third, you know, he's essentially what you'd want as a defensive replacement. And so, but you also looked and you saw, you got a stolen base. Oneil Cruz tied Juan Soto for the league in stolen bases, but it's the classic Vince Coleman when he came up, you can't steal first. You have an on-base percentage of .298. I have a feeling that stolen base total would be in the 50s or 60s if that on-base percentage was adequate. And you had Jack Sawinski, who I'm sure a lot of people were hoping that he was going to provide some power and some pop and some offense. He did nothing. He had a lost season, you know, and even Bryan Reynolds, the big, who, you know, keep him under the wing there. Like, a lot of people just had disappointing years for this Pirate team, and that's what kept them out of even the wild card run.
Right. Bryan Reynolds, you know, had a naggy injury plague kind of year. Every
he still
other
played 154 games. I mean, he still played. He was there. He was an everyday player.
Right, and therein lies a little bit of the problem there. He will never come off the field willingly, and they won't pull him off unwillingly. And he fighting through a shoulder that wasn't right most of the season. I mean, they really should have sat him down for a while. Instead, they DH'd him for a while and basically had Kutch rot for a month and a half. And while he was doing that, and he's not a great defender to begin with. So bum shoulder on top of it, you know, it just wasn't going to be a great season. Plus, there's a theory in Pittsburgh that every time his wife is with child, the guy can't hit. it's just about every year, man, that he's having a kid. It all falls apart.
So they should pay for condoms. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to be fired for that comment. But when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about how the rest of the National League Central must have made Pirate fans a little agitated, because it looked like their window of opportunity may have been there if they had, a few more Major League bats. All right, let's hear from our friends over at FanDuel. Now, NFL Sundays, they move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, and every highlight moment. Live betting is the best when the game starts to shift. Receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips over a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment, live spreads, money lines, and adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up, and you can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, I'm guessing even safeties, and more. It can keep you locked into every snap, every drive, and every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and you know what? So can you. Hey, this episode is dropping on a Sunday. Well, tune in tomorrow because we are going to be making a big announcement on Monday, the 8th day of December 2025. We're making a big announcement for those of you who are fans of the Locked On Podcast Network, where you're fans of Locked On MLB, if you're a fan of Locked On Pirates. We're making a very big announcement for all of you who want to be, I'm going to tease it right here, a member of the Everydayer Club. There you go. The Everydayer Club. That's where you get Locked On MLB, Locked On Pirates with no interruptions and members only, Discord access, and more. And we're going to talk about all about it for the Everydayer Club. It's going to be a lot of fun, and you're going to see some good stuff for Everydayer Club and for all access. So we're going to make a big announcement for that tomorrow. Just wait and see. Okay, enough teasing. It was clear to me that there was a team in the National League Central could have put things together and find themselves in the postseason. And that turned out to be the Reds. Now, the Reds were a blink and you'll miss it. They're out of it. But I'm sure for Reds fans to be able to take that first big leap into a larger world and, of course, humiliate the Mets along the way, that was a bit of a victory. And for Pirate fans, I can imagine that was aggravating because there was a realistic scenario that that team could have been the Pirates if a couple of things, banged the right way. And, what was your thought about Cincinnati being the team? And again, they're only finished a few games over 500. It's not like people are going to forget the Big Red Machine. But what were your thoughts with Cincinnati, who was able to put things together and, on the final day of the season, put the Mets in the rearview mirror?
I mean, I think they're a very similar team to the Pirates. That's why they're a good rival. A lot of the same issues, spending wise, and region. I mean, we have the same exact issues, I would say, for the most part. And they're putting together a decent pitching staff that kind of mirrors our pitching staff. I mean, I don't think it's headed by the same kind of talent, but
no,
it's got a pretty nice look to it. I think it could carry them a ways, and they're building some interesting offensive talent around it. I guess I was surprised last year mostly that Terry Francona didn't have the effect that I think they hoped he would on the team, at least from their perspective. At least my friends in Cincinnati told me. Pittsburgh, we were very envious. They felt like he underachieved. I mean, we thought he got him in. We thought Francona did his job. He took this ragtag group of players and pulled them together and did what he does, got them into the playoffs. That's what we felt was missing here. So frustration, yes, that our team didn't make a move in that department until a little too late.
Yeah, I think the Francona effect kicked in late. I think that, maybe for the first half, I could understand the frustration for Cincinnati fans, but certainly by the end, you could see that they were winning the games they were supposed to win and taking advantage of the losing streak that the Mets were in. If you had polled 1 million Reds fans at the beginning of last year, would you take a winning season and a trip to the postseason? You'd get 1 million yeses. So that's what they got. And it may not have been as glorious or glamorous as they would have wanted it to, but they got the job. They could certainly build on that. One of the things that you were saying that the Reds are building an interesting pitching staff there. We'll talk about Skenes a little bit more in detail later, but even besides Skenes, they got rid of Andrew Haney towards the end of the year, but they got decent pitching last year, even beyond Skenes. Their pitching staff had a very good ERA. Their bullpen was pretty effective, even after they traded Bednar. they got a few players back from the Yankees. Who knows if any of them are actually going to amount to anything? But going into this offseason, a Pirate fan could look up and say, "Hey, wait a minute! Our pitching staff isn't, obviously the great figurehead at the top, but the rest of it is pretty decent."
They've got a really good shot of Bubba Chandler being a Rookie of the Year candidate this year. I really mean that.
Yeah.
If they decide to start with Hunter Barco out the gate, very good chance he's in that race. Those are two prospects that I truly believe in. They really could start. Mike Burrows is more mature than people are giving him credit for.
Mm-hmm.
I think Braxton Ashcraft is probably a more interesting pitcher than a lot of people are talking about. Still got Mitch Keller.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's a 200 inning guy.
Yeah.
4 ERA may be boring, but you got to have that recipe, man.
Right. Especially if you're building a bullpen, you have to have someone you hand the ball to and they go 6-7 innings.
Yeah,
I talked about that in the last episode with Ryan Finkelstein about the Mets issues and why they need innings eaters on their team.
If you talk about trying to win, to build a team cheap,
yeah,
you have to do it with the pitching staff. The pitching staff, for the most part, has to come from internal growth. If you really want to do it cheap, that's obviously what this team wants to do. So thank goodness they've pulled this off, I think. The pitching side looks sharp.
And the interesting thing is they made a trade from their pitching depth when they traded away Johan Oviedo to Boston. I mean, look, no one has Oviedo on the short list of Cy Young candidates. He missed the entire 2024 season, but he pitched well in the 9 starts he made for Pittsburgh in 2025. Yeah. And the Red Sox are taking a flyer that he's still young enough to be able to be pretty good, and they were able to put him in the rotation. But with that, the Pirates have acquired the password, and let's see if we can use our combined strength to figure out how to pronounce this man's name. Look,
you want me to do it for you because I've been practicing a lot.
Okay, go ahead, because he's now no longer a Red Sox farmhand. He's now with the Pirates.
Joe's Tin Son. It's just 3 words put together. Joe's Tin Son.
There you go.
And
Joe's.
He prefers the password, I've heard, so that's fine.
Joe's Tinson played just a handful of games. He played about 5 or 6 games with the Red Sox last year. Hit a lot of home runs. Was a decent hitter for the Red Sox the last couple of years in their farm system. The Red Sox had no room in the inn for him. They have a surplus of outfielders, so they got a major league pitcher in exchange for him. Joe Stinson, Joe Stinson could now compete for a spot in the Pirates outfield, and of which there is room for him. There was no room in the inn in Boston for him, and now there's room in the inn for him there. I mean, last year they started. You had Sawinski and Hayes and Reynolds and Cruz and Tommy Pham. Not Hayes. I meant to say Tommy Pham and Oneil Cruz. So you can absolutely find himself room in that lineup.
He can, as currently constructed. And it would be my hope that the Pirates would go out and bring in a more proven starter for corner outfield, especially because I think from the outside, maybe a lot of people aren't thinking of it like we are, but Bryan Reynolds really needs to start thinking about moving towards DH. It needs to be something that the team considers too. So we've thought all along we needed at least 2 outfielders. I don't want them to think Garcia has to be one of them. I'd love for him to win a spot, but I don't want to give him one. And I don't want to bring in a Pham to block him. I think they need to aim a little higher. So that's what it looks like they're doing anyway.
Well, when we come back, I want to talk about the elephant in the room, and it's not Stomper over in West Sacramento. It is the best pitcher in baseball and someone who is becoming more recognizable on a national scale. And the Pirates, I'm sorry, it's go time. The time for waiting and rebuilding has to be more immediate. I said it was go time. Well, now it's game time. Let's hear from our good friends over at Game Time. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994, which is not a great year for baseball. And with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's where the Game Time app is clutch, giving fans, finally, they have the advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open up, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. You can pull up the app, and the layout makes it so simple to scroll through the matchups and compare seat views. You can pick a game, tap a section, and you have your tickets loaded in minutes. No confusion and no hunting for the fine print. The seat view feature, easy for you to say, is a game changer. You literally see what the pitch looks like from your exact seat before you buy. Prices include fees up front. That's great. No last-second surprises at checkout. Alerts for teams and matches make it easy to grab tickets the moment they drop instead of missing out. So take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match, concert, and event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Of course, terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game Time. Flawless ad read. Absolutely flawless. Hey,
Absolutely.
Paul Skenes is in commercials. Paul Skenes was featured in commercials, more than one commercial. I saw him during the postseason. He was doing the sandwich shop that's doing stuff for veterans. Then he was like in some T-Mobile commercial. So he was in a couple of things. I don't know. That's how effective the commercial. I couldn't remember what the hell the products were, but they're not sponsors of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is the #1 podcasting sports network out there. But Paul Skenes, who won himself a Cy Young Award despite having a 500 record, I don't look at the record either. I think it's ridiculous to even. I don't think we should. If we're only having our pitchers going 5 innings, we shouldn't even have win-loss records anymore because they're meaningless. There would have been a time that no one would have voted for him because of that. 216 strikeouts and 187 and 2/3 innings. Lead the league in ERA plus, FIP, WHIP, homers per 9 innings. Had a 1.97 earned run average. If they had a mediocre offense, Paul Skenes would have 17, 18 wins. The Pirates have whiffed on a lot of first-round draft picks over the years. This one landed, and he's there. He's 24, and they have to put major leaguers around him. They cannot waste this opportunity. What is the thought about the immediate future and maybe the long-term future of Mr. Skenes?
I mean, long term, I expect him to be wearing pinstripes or Dodgers blue if the league doesn't change. I mean, sorry, that's just the truth.
Yeah.
I think we have probably 2 years to capitalize on having him here, 26, 27, maybe 28, without trading him. If the team is built around him, I think they'll keep him till the end of his control years. I really do. I think they'll just go ahead and give up on getting anything back and take the best swing they can with him. I do believe they really want to build around him this year. There's a lot of pressure this year. They have money to spend. They've been on them out there lifting their skirt, showing everybody they've got money to spend this year. We think it's about 35 to 40 million, 55 on the top end if they found somebody transformative, aka Tucker or Schwarber decided to come to town.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, I think you're going to look at a $95 million a year salary this year, I would think. Is probably what they'll open the season with, which really on this team could be pretty good.
Could be a lot, yeah.
2-3 more bats and a chance at more with these kids coming. So
I know that I would love to see them take a swing at Schwarber. Now that would mean you'd probably be asking Schwarber to play first base predominantly. I mean, that's something you got to remember. If you bring let's just say they literally swing for the fences and bring in Schwarber. Reynolds has to be the DH, and you need to have Schwarber in your lineup every single day. All apologies to Spencer Horwitz. If you have a Kyle Schwarber, you have to put him in your lineup. Yeah, I'm not putting him in the outfield. I'm not giving, but you one of them has to play first and one of them has to DH. And
Well,
I just
Spencer
think,
Horwitz is pretty good too. I don't know that I want to move him off of first base. I like what I
well,
saw from him last year. I think if you got Kyle Schwarber for 2026, which we're told is the year to care about,
mhm.
I can live with it. We'll figure out a way to make it work. One of them will DH. One of them will play the outfield. Maybe one of them shouldn't, but so what?
Right.
Got to get the
Yeah, at some
bats.
point,
That's much more important.
yeah, at some point you got to say we need to, they're not delivering any runs. They're not
Yep.
scoring runs. They're not driving in any runs, and they're not hitting homers. This is like, Oneil Cruz had a demonstrably bad year last year and led the league in led the team with home runs and stolen bases. And Reynolds, who we talked about as, wow, what a letdown, led the team in runs batted in. When we're talking about letdown players still leading their team, being the team leader, that's a big problem. I've been saying it to a couple of teams, specifically the Pirates, because they have this opportunity to capitalize on one of the few superstars one of the few legit aces in the game. Like when you think about how many legit aces there are, there's Skenes, then you have Tarek Skubal, Crochet, when healthy, Garrett Cole, but he was out all last year, so I can't really put him there. Yamamoto, I'd certainly put there. Framber Valdez, when healthy, I'd put there. DeGrom, when healthy, but he's never healthy.
Right.
It's really, when you start bringing it down, there's probably only 5 or 6 legitimate aces. Not every team is a number one starter, but how many aces are there? Like a difference-making pitcher. Well, the Pirates have one of them. Which is one of the reasons why they can't afford to whiff on this. Even if this is their window of opportunity and he skedaddles and becomes a Dodger or a Cub or a Met or a Yankee or a Red Sox or whatever moving forward, they have to take advantage of this period of time. And what I suggested to the Pirates, and I also suggest the same thing to Miami, who had a very good second half, and they have to capitalize on it. I would hold up, at the beginning, I know this is more playing it cheap again, but I would also say that whenever you get to you're on the verge of spring training, there's always a bunch of legitimate major leaguers who don't have a home. And I would rather see this team be populated. I know you don't want to have a Tommy Pham block the way of the password. I understand that. But if you can make sure that at every position there's at least a major leaguer, at least someone who you point to and go, all right, that's not a AAA player who's up here because we're cheap. There's at least someone who's okay. They at least belong in the major leagues at every position. And, 3 or 4 legit major league starting pitchers, which I think they already have, and 3 or 4 legit major league relievers who I think they already have. It's really about bringing in like at least one, if not 2 major league outfielders and at least 1 major league infielder to give them depth and to, if you don't want to have, to be able to fill in the gaps there. That's when you have to take a look at the people who are looking for, there's always a legitimate major leaguer who go like, man, I can't believe they haven't signed yet. Jump all over them and say, you're going to have Paul Skenes starting, and this is a winnable division. Because the Brewers could take a step back. The Cubs can absolutely take a step back, especially if they don't replace Tucker. And the Reds could take a step back. And the Cardinals are rebuilding. This could potentially be a winnable division if every 5 games you have the best pitcher in the National League going.
It could be. And I think for the Pirates, they just kind of have to be more selective about where those bats come in. They just don't have willy-nilly spaces available all over the place to try. Like, I'm more worried about the outfield than anybody, because I don't necessarily believe Oneil Cruz has proven he's going to stick in center field yet.
Right.
So, like, he's got the speed, he's got the range, he does not have the awareness. Going back on balls is awful. He's making poor throw decisions. It was also his first year ever doing it, ever. So, he didn't even play it in pickup, like in the Dominican. So, completely new experience. I hope he's better, but I can't guarantee it. And here I am talking about moving Bryan Reynolds to DA. I don't even know if Cruz is going to play outfield, stick there. I mean, like that outfield's going to be in flux. I mean, and you don't have a choice with guys like that because, yeah, Cruz sucked, but he hit 20 some home runs on a team that has no power. How could I turn my nose up at that? I got to deal with that and eat the warts, man. That's what's got to happen this year.
They had one player with an OPS plus in triple figures. One. And it was Spencer Horwitz. I mean, you look at the squad. I mean, they had a good, I'm not going to say it was a great staff. They had a great starting pitcher and a decent staff. A mediocre lineup. This is a 500 team. The mediocre lineup last year. I think this is a 500 team.
Well, I mean, Sully, they got a 1-1 at catcher who is defensively excellent.
Yes.
Exquisite.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be a bat.
Yeah.
You're not going to not give that 1-1 another shot next year. Sorry, you're not, especially when he's like Skenes' best friend. He's going to be our catcher. Now, if I'm them, I'd bring in JT Realmuto or something and let him eat like half the games and help mentor Henry and bring him along. Show him how to work both sides of the aisle because he gets so buried in defense, he forgets offense.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they'll do that. That's good money they could spend, though, I think.
You can't afford to have, I mean, look, he's an excellent defensive catcher, and obviously you want to make Paul Skenes as happy as possible. They're not in a position where they can afford to have a guy with an OPS of 5.12 in their lineup every day, unless you have at least two big boppers in their lineup to make up for that. And they're not in that position right now, in my very humble opinion.
You got to give him a chance to become one.
Right.
Because honestly, he was drafted for the bat. And the bat has been good every year until last year. I need to see that. And I would get a safety net for that instead of Joey Bart. That's one way you can improve. Third base, you don't want to just give it to Jared Triolo. So I'd go out and get a real third baseman like Eugenio Suarez. Left field, go get me a real one. Get me Ryan O'Hearn.
Yeah.
I mean, you could push him aside if you needed to.
O'Hearn would be a great acquisition. I would fit in perfectly.
Yeah. But it wouldn't take much, Sully. And then you're talking, this is a team that really could be in the talk for conversation for a wild card or the division. And you got Jared Jones coming back sometime, like early on. I mean, yeah, it really could be special.
And if they get a wild card and can pitch Paul Skenes game 1, then you have a legit shot of getting to that division series and moving on from there.
Yeah.
And I hope they do, because I'm a huge the Pirates are one of my favorite organizations. The first World Series I ever watched was in 1979. I love the history of the Pirates. And I would love to see, and I think the Pittsburgh Pirate fans are a sleeping giant. You saw how they embraced the team when they got good again in the mid-2010s. And it was a really fun to see that place, that one of the absolute best stadiums in baseball, rocking. But as you could see in the face of Gary Morgan, the cheerful, happy face of Gary Morgan, that sense of resignation that they only have 3 or 4 years left of Skenes. Well, let's make it a party.
Yeah,
let's get in there.
That sense comes from those last 3 years that you tell me I should be looking back on fondly. I knew this was going to end the same way then. I knew it was going to end with Garrett Cole getting shit. I mean, I know how it works. Unless the league changes, this is my life. And I love baseball, so I embrace it. And I know change is what's coming. That's all.
Well, I'll tell you, the change is not going to be bad. Is Gary Morgan's going to be back he's going to be here all off season talking Pirates on Locked On Pirates. I'm going to be here all season. And by the way, I'm recording this the same day as the Ryan Finkelstein interview. So I don't have any answers yet for the trivia question, but I'll repeat it here, which is a Met question. Who's the only player to hit their 500th home run as a Met? So that's the trivia question. Put your answers down here below. And we can be found on the Locked On Podcast Network, which is the #1 sports podcasting network. Gary Morgan is the host of Locked On Pirates. And you can follow me here and follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called these days. Talking about the Bucks, who were blessed with a superhero who came down to Pittsburgh, and now they better put together at least a little something. Otherwise, what a wasted opportunity this will be. This has been a Locked On MLB, Locked On Pirates crossover. He's Gary Morgan. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I can't sing We Are Family because that's a whole rights issue. But I've got all my sisters with me.
That's true.
People say, can they be that close? Let me state for the record.